We're not the suits that talk football. We're the dudes that know football. And you've just crossed over into the trend zone, Dave, here with Casey. And we are the football dudes. Are you ready, brother?
You got that right, my friend. Let's do this.
Right. That's the signpost up ahead. Next stop, the trend zone. Casey, it is Wednesday, September 17th. It's cooling off a bit here on the west side. It's about 66 degrees. Very comfortable, actually.
It was brutal that day, man. It was a hot one. Still using the pool in late September.
Nice. All righty. In today's episode, we'll talk about a couple QBs stub their toes and more.
Sergeant
Is it
Hoka.
is it 2-0 or 0-2? Is it too soon to panic? 2-0. Too soon to think playoffs. Little survivor, little fantasy go backs, and all the awesome games of the upcoming week. But Casey, we cannot take a trip into the trend zone without a tasty nug for the people. Please tell us that you're holding at least some form of nug.
Oh, yeah, Dave. Let's go ahead and keep it in line with the twos. We had 2 Monday night football games. And you know what I always like to say? Let's go ahead and get baked, okay? You know why? Because no one is playing better than my guy, Baker Mayfield, bro. And he's had back-to-back game-winning touchdowns in the final minute of the fourth quarter on the road in back-to-back games, Dave. That hasn't been done since 1999, Prince's favorite year.
Wow. He is a gamer. We always know that, man. He will carry the team and he will sacrifice his body.
Dude, and like that late hit, it looked like he might have been really hurt, and homeboy stepped over him, started talking shit, and that was the fuel Baker needed to get up and say, all right, let's finish this thing. Why would you provoke this cat, dude?
Yeah, don't poke that dude, man. He is a gamer. All right,
Oh,
folks, it is the Trend Zone, available for subscription on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcast. Moving on to the top trending stories, Casey, and this is a pretty bummer. Like we've talked about over the years, that how many quarterbacks are required, why they protect the quarterbacks, et cetera, et cetera. And wow, here we are, 2 weeks in to this season here, and it's just like, wow, a mash unit out there. Get into some of these injuries and the significance of them, the time spans.
Yeah, dude, we got to start with Joe Shiesty, man. They finally played this cat in the preseason to kind of jumpstart the Bengals.
Yep.
And it didn't look like it was working, but they did go 2-0.
Yeah.
Joe left that game early, like I said, with the Sergeant Hulk. He's going to be out like 3 to 4 months, man. So Browning came in and played well to finish off the Jags. But, dude, I don't know if there's long-term feasibility with that cat. I guess we'll see, because he does have all those weapons, and they did play strong. But, like, dude, this is what, the 3rd out of 6 seasons that Joe Burrow is going to miss the majority of. Dude, this cat cannot stay healthy. And you got to go back. Jamar Chase, obviously a great player. You can't doubt the abilities here. But if they would have spent this time building up an offensive line for Joey B, I'm not sure, where we'd be. But, it'd be brutal if we lose this cat prematurely to all these injuries.
Yeah, no question about it. He's one of the most fun quarterbacks in the league to watch play. The good news is Browning does have a lot of weapons to work with there, and he's going to have to produce, because it doesn't seem like their defense is going to be able to hold teams down. So their plan going into the season was, score more than the other team. So it's on him. It's on Browning.
Yeah. And, dude, that's not the only one. Brock Purdy, still week to week. We're not sure what he's going to do in week 3. Got a big division game coming up against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
He's got the shoulder and the toe as well. So I'm not sure that they're going to force him back for this week. Mac Jones, pretty solid, though, going in for Purdy.
Yeah, they're banged up across the board, kind of, but we'll see if Purdy can come back. I think it's unlikely, so Mac Jones probably going to get the start. More to talk about here in the quarterback damage department.
Oh, yeah, dude. Jayden Daniels, he's got a knee injury that's probably going to keep him out this week. Techno Viking is being pretty coy with it, but, you don't want to risk putting him out there for further injury, especially how much he likes to move around. So that will be a game time decision. They're hosting the Raiders on Sunday. We'll see what happens there. And if he can't go, it will be Marcus Mariota.
Mm-hmm.
JJ McCarthy also out. He's got a sprained ankle.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz is going to get the start there. I don't know how many teams this is for Carson Wentz, but it's a bunch. But, McCarthy goes down. Dude, Justin Fields goes down. A concussion for this guy.
Wow.
Adding injury to the insult that was that game against the Bills. And I know Jeff Fan was feeling pretty good about that offense before last week started.
Yeah, of course, it'll be Tyrod Taylor in on the action. At least they have a similar styled veteran that can maybe hold down the fort, but not according to Jet Fan that we know.
Despondent?
Despondent to say the least. Is looking ahead to the draft already, heading into week 3.
And then that pretty boy in Buffalo, Josh Allen, he's not so pretty anymore. He's got the busted schnoz. He's going to go ahead and go with the visor that he hasn't worn since college, but he's probably not going to miss any time. I can't imagine he misses time.
Yeah, no doubt. He's going to just tough it out there. Casey, big signing for your Cowboys. Kind of wish that he was still a free agent as a Charger fan right now, given our circumstances. But go ahead and talk about this one.
Yeah, Cowboys trying to get some help for that pass rush. They went ahead and signed Jadeveon Clowney. He's going to come in. I'm not sure what kind of shape he's in. He's practicing with the team this week, and you're already hearing out of Cowboy camp that he's coaching up some of the young blood, so it's kind of a twofer there. They're not getting the production. I wonder what's happened there. I still like Kenny Clark in that line. Us being able to stop the run, I think is solid, but we got to get after the quarterbacks, especially after we saw Russ cooking on us. Clowney's definitely a great run defender, but hopefully he can get a little pressure on the quarterback as well. But Dave, let's go crazy. Now that Joe Burrow's out, maybe we can pry the pass rushing specialist off of that squad too. Even though they're 2-0, is it going to be time for them to start moving some assets in?
I think they're gonna probably ride this thing out a little while before Hendrickson is going to be made a possible trade candidate. We shall see, though, as other teams might be wanting to be in on that bidding. If he
an LA team,
I'm not speculating too much.
The thing is, like, they had to go kicking and screaming to give him that deal to gruntle him for this season. So I think this is it. I don't think they put the franchise on him. So they might be listening to a lot of calls.
As the trade deadline approaches, depending on their situation, that certainly would be a situation that people would be interested in.
Yeah.
All right, Casey, moving on to the next topic here. It is the 0-2 versus 2-0 teams. As we know, historically speaking, 0-2 teams are very, very unlikely to make the playoffs, and 2-0 teams are sort of on their way to the playoffs, so to speak. Let's start with the 0-2 AFC teams. Any surprises on this list for you, Casey?
Yeah, there is one team that's a surprise. How about the Kansas City Chiefs, man? They've been close in both of those, but not good enough. And that's actually, if you count the Super Bowl, 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And they're so banged up at receiver. And they had a couple things, just Kelsey flipping that ball up. Should have been a touchdown. Instead, it's a huge interception. So Chiefs Nation is not going to panic, but you didn't expect to see them at 0-2. But Jets, Finns, Browns, Texans, and Titans all on this list. Any of these teams you didn't
certainly
expect to see?
Yeah, Houston is the team that's the most shocking out of that group. The other ones, I don't think we would have been too surprised at all to hear that they started off 0-2. But the Houston Texans, they're close in both games, and I don't think, like you said, with the Chiefs, not really time to panic at this point in time. Just 2 losses means they're certainly not going undefeated, and it's going to be a little while. They got to dig themselves out of a little hole, but both these teams, quality teams. All right, moving it on to the 0-2 NFC teams, Casey. Of this group, any surprises for you?
No, none at all. It's the Giants, the Bears, the Panthers, and the Saints. We expected these teams to struggle. We liked, maybe thought Ben Johnson would get it turned around, and the Cowboys are going to have their hands full with the Bears on this Sunday anyways. Carolina playing a little better down the stretch, but none of these are surprising to me.
Agreed. Moving on to the 2-0 AFC teams, Casey. It's a nice list of 4 squads here. Any surprises?
Yeah, we obviously no surprise in Buffalo. Cincy, after all their terrible starts, they're on this list. The Indianapolis Colts, bro, Dimebag Danny doing work
Woo.
in Indy, man. It's got those
Yeah.
Colts undefeated. Jonathan Taylor's looking nice, and that team's got a lot of talent. Now they're getting
Yep.
solid quarterback play. And
Oh.
we just saw the 0-2 where the Texans are. Texans are supposed to own this division. Not so fast, my friend. Colts at the top. And I know there's a team on here that's got you super stoked, bro.
That's the Chargers, of course. Tough beginning with 3 divisional games, but they've handled 2 of them. So 2-0 for the Chargers after beating the Chiefs and then the Raiders. Of course, one more divisional game on the horizon here. We'll see how that goes. That's going to be a tough one next week for the Chargers home opener, official home opener.
Yeah.
All right, moving over to 2-0 NFC squads, Casey. What do you see here?
The Eagles, the Packers, the Bucs, the Niners, the Cards, and the Rams. 3 of the NFC West teams on here. I guess that's a little surprising, but overall, none of these really surprised me that they're on the list. It's just kind of how well these teams are playing.
Yeah, I would say maybe Arizona would be the biggest surprise there, or San Francisco because of the injuries that they've sustained. But yeah, certainly the other teams on that list aren't too much of a surprise there. All
Good
right,
stuff.
moving on to total fantasy domination, Casey. Let's talk about the fantasy superstars from last week.
Yeah, and I'm kind of shocked that it's not Dangerous Wilson on this list. It's actually our guy Jared Goff on the Purple Sabbath for those Detroit Rock City Lions. 334 pass yards, 5 passing touchdowns, dude, and they really wanted to put it on those Bears and Ben Johnson, and mission accomplished.
No doubt. At running back, it is Jonathan Taylor of my Lightning Strike squad, as well as the Indianapolis Colts and their 2-0 squad. 165 rushing yards, 50 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown.
When will they stop rocking all night, Dave?
I do not know. That's
when the lightning strikes again, my friend. Speaking
of,
of, how about Amon-Ra St. Brown catching those TDs from Jared Goff? 115 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns.
And at tight end, it is Tucker Kraft, also of the Purple Sabbath. He's doing pretty good so far. And Green Bay Packers, of course, 124 receiving yards and a touchdown for the tight end.
Not too shabby.
Not bad. Okay, moving on to our fantasy go back starts of the week, Casey. I won in both of my leagues handily. I actually had the top score in our league, so I certainly couldn't have done anything better. All of my top scorers were actually active and on the field for me.
Yeah, I could have done better if I would have played Chuba Hubbard over Derrick Henry, but guess what? That ain't ever going to happen. But even so, I had plenty to make the Snivellers snivel all the way home. And much like all those NFC teams, the Foul Boys sitting at 2-0, baby. How sweet it is.
So sweet. Well, I'm lucky to have gotten into the win category after going down in week 1 to the high scorer of the league last week.
Oh, yeah, that is the Foul Boys. That's me.
Oh, yeah. Right. There. That was your cue, Casey. Okay, moving it on to the Survivor 3 Strikes League, where we get 3 strikes, not just 1, to keep the thing going. Casey, let's get into last week and last week's action first.
Yeah, the most popular correct pick was the Ravens over the Browns, and sometimes that's a little sketchy, but almost 31% of the country went with the favorites, and they were rewarded. But Dave, you like myself, we picked the Cowboys with that easy win over the Giants, and that had us squirming right to the very last second when my guy Butter Aubrey was doing work. They mocked me for taking this guy in the 10th round in our fantasy draft, but now who's mocking who? I mock them, Dave. Oh my God. A well earned victory. Most popular incorrect last week was those Pittsburgh Steelers over the Seahawks. Sam Darnold and those Hawks got it done on the road.
Yeah, and it's the second week, Casey, that almost nobody was really knocked out. That's just 1.3% of the people that got burned. And last week, it was hardly anybody also. So unlike last year, which was absolutely ridiculous in the first 5 weeks, this particular Survivor season is being gentle on the people.
Yeah, week 1, the Broncos were supposed to lose to the Titans and take out like 80% of the country, but they found a way to get it done. Oh, that would have been so sweet.
All right, let's take a look at next week's most popular picks. At this point, we've got a lot of options to choose from.
Yeah, the Bills over the Fins on the Thursday night game, almost 28%. Seahawks over the Saints, 25%. The Packers over the Browns, 17%. And the Bucs over the lowly Jets at almost 11%.
Wow. Leaning any which way, Casey, or you need more time?
I mean, I think Green Bay all day.
Okay. Yeah.
Why not? I don't know if I want to use them up week
Yeah.
3, so I'm going to have
Exactly.
to sift through there. But I stay away from the high
The top.
percentages, and I want to keep Buffalo for when I really need them as well.
For sure. I'm thinking maybe I'm leaning towards Seattle. So that's my preliminary pick. All right. Casey, let's go ahead and move on to this week's action in the NFL. It is week 3, brother.
What? Wait. What did
Yep.
you say?
Week 3 NFL action coming up.
Week 3?
3, sir.
It's slipping away.
Yes. Yes, it is. And it starts slipping even further tomorrow with Thursday night football, Casey, as the Dolphins head on over to Buffalo to face the Bills. The Bills at home favored by 11.5 in this one. Wow.
Yeah, and there's good reason for that because these Bills kicked the crap out of the Jets last week, 30-10, and that was without Josh Allen running or throwing for a touchdown. It was all James Cook ran all over those stinking Jets, and then the Dolphins lose a heartbreaker to the Patriots and just a crazy finish, man. Some people are against the new kickoff rule. They call it sissy football. I beg to
What?
differ. It's exciting as hell. Returns all the time. In this game, had back-to-back kickoff returns for a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Hell yeah, give me more of that. But the vibes are all bad with the Fins right now.
Yeah.
If they drop to 0-3, which I think that they will,
The vibes will be worse. Let's just put it that way.
yeah, the vibes will not be high. I'll tell you that much. Ugh. All right. That will get us to Sunday. And in the early game, we got an NFC South battle. It is the hot Atlanta Falcons at the Carolina Panthers. And Michael Penix and those Falcons are 5.5-point favorites.
Yeah, and after the Falcons came up a little bit short with the field goal miss in week 1, they got things figured out, putting the beat down on the Vikings there. And sorry, Kitty. Sorry about that, folks. Disrupted my cat. All right, where was I? The Falcons got it right against the Vikings, moving over to the Panthers last year, finishing strong with some moral victories translated into more moral victories as they sit at 0-2, playing decent but not well enough to get a W going on right now. So, all right.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Packers at the Browns, Casey. The Packers are on the road in this one, but favored by 8.5.
Yeah, and the Packers that Thursday night game handled the Commandos 27-18. Wasn't really that close. Michael Parsons obviously having a big impact on that defense that was looking great before he even got there. So Pack looked like the cream of the crop in the NFC. The offense can do a lot. Josh Jacobs has had a touchdown in like 11 or 12 straight games. And the Browns, it was brutal, man. The wheels fell off. This wasn't at the factory of sadness, the de facto factory of sadness for them in Baltimore, getting curb stomped by the Ravens. I don't think they made it official yet, but I would expect to see Dylan Gabriel playing this game if he doesn't end up starting it. But brutal start for these Brownies, and the Ravens bounce back from losing that week 1 total bummer that they had to the Bills.
Yeah, and obviously the quarterback carousel will spin a little bit this year for these Browns, so we'll see.
And dude, not to go off on a tangent here, but Shedeur Sanders, if that article is correct, saying he didn't want to go to Baltimore to sit behind Lamar Jackson.
Oops.
Dude, you go to a world-class organization, see how's everything's done, see what the 2-time league MVP does, how he prepares, how he gets ready, and you don't want to learn from that guy. You'd rather go to the Browns. Good luck, bro. Good luck with that.
Got what you wanted, I guess, right?
All right, we got an AFC South battle, dude. It is the Texans at the Shags, baby, and those Shags are 1.5-point favorites. Duval.
Wow, pretty impressive. Let's start with the Texans, though. Coming up 0-2 in a close loss last week to the Bucs. We talked about it briefly already. That seemed like a game they could have won.
Mm-hmm.
But there they are at 0-2, really kind of looking desperate for that win. This is divisional, of course, with Jacksonville. They came up short last week, but they are 1-1. The Jacksonville coming up short to the Cincinnati Bengals there. But this is going to be an interesting one, because if the Jags can get this one, then it really does put a pretty good hole for those Texans to get out of. And as you mentioned, Jacksonville is favored in this one. They've been playing some good football with the new head coach there, and Trevor Lawrence is more stable perhaps than he's been. So we'll see if the Jaguars can keep this going. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, and it was kind of shocker when they traded Tank Bigsby to the Eagles, but they really love a Shaw Tootin, and he and Etienne both over 5 yards a carry last week. That is a formula that's going to help Trevor Lawrence.
That will work. All right, up next, it is the Bengals at the Vikings, and the Vikings are at home and favored by 3 in this one.
Yeah, and the NFL schedulers thought they had a sweet game, JJ against Joe, and unfortunately, it's going to be Wentz versus Browning. And at least the vibes aren't terrible in Cincy right now, because they are 2-0, and Jake Browning take away those 3 interceptions last week, and he's 21 of 32, 241 and 2 touchdowns. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
If he can get that cleaned up, we talked about the weapons at the top of the show. There's plenty there. They got to get this run game going, though. Everybody freaked out and wanted Chase Brown in the draft, dude. 16 carries, 47 yards last week, 2.9 per. That is not going to get it done. And the Vikings, man, they really have played one good quarter of football. And now they don't have J.J. McCarthy. They don't have Aaron Jones in this thing either. So a lot is going to be on that Flores defense. Can he frustrate those Bengals we are going to see?
Yeah, it's a good defense, but that's a task even with Browning at quarterback.
Yep. All right, up next, Dave. This used to be an AFC championship all the time, and now it's the Pittsburgh Steelers at the New England Patriots, and the Steelers are 1.5 favorites.
Yeah, and the Steelers coming off of a tough loss to the Seahawks last week, where they had a special teams blunder by the rookie there. Forgot to field the kickoff. Oops.
Is that important, Dave, to field the kickoff?
Yeah, it was. The other team was aware of it and were able to pounce on it in the end zone for an easy score. It seemed like the Steelers did recover from that, and that was their ultimate demise. They were right in that football game, and then it kind of just slipped away. This Steelers squad, though, Rodgers played really well in week 1. Not as well last week. It wasn't a disastrous game, but they haven't really, hit their stride here necessarily after that week 1 explosion. Kind of a letdown here, but he did find a lot of good receivers there. They got a little bit going on the ground. Just doesn't have the flavor of a Steelers team that's going to pound it and play defense. It's a little different flavor here. So we'll see if they can get things right against these Patriots.
Yeah, and the Patriots, they lose a game that they could have won against the Raiders in week 1. And then last week, they find a way to get that win against the Dolphins, going in there and ending the thing on defense. But Drake May, dude, 19 of 23, 230 with 2 tutties last week. Looking very good out there. Yeah. And Ramondre Stevenson said, Travion Henderson's going to replace me. Not yet, baby. 11 carries for 54 yards, but he went ahead and added 88 receiving yards as well, too. Wow. So Patriots, we know that they're going to play tough. Can they limit their mistakes? And if they do limit those mistakes, they're going to be in most of the games that they play.
No question about it, dude. All right, up next, it is the Rams at the Eagles, and Philadelphia is the world champion Philadelphia Eagles, Casey, our favorite at home by 3 in this one. But I know that you feel like the Rams have got a little something for them, right?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the Rams haven't shown that when they played the Eagles. They were super close in the divisional round last year, had that 3rd and 1, and it was I think it was Jordan Davis blew that play up, and the
Load up.
Rams were so close to winning that thing, close but didn't. But this Rams team is out the gates 2-0. Kind of struggled week one. Last week, much better. Handling those Titans, getting a little more out of the run game. Kyron Williams last week, only 66 yards, but 17 carries, dude. And Puka getting in on that run game. He had that end around that went for 45 yards and a touchdown. And we saw the second-year player, Blake Corum from Michigan, kind of get in there too. They're trusting him to do a little bit more, and that's a lot of fun. But Devontae Adams, man, him and Puka are going to be a super solid 1-2 punch. And I like that Rams defense quite a bit as well. It is going to be tough because they're on the road, and the Eagles have been getting so much crap for the tush push this week. Maybe that is going to stoke the fire under those talons of theirs and see what they can do. And they better bring it though, man, because I am really stoked on this Rams team. Very solid on both sides of the ball, but they're going to have their hands full on Sunday.
Yeah, big time. And Philadelphia at home, they don't beat themselves. They let you find a way to sort of make that mistake. And it's not, the glorious numbers last week coming off a win over Kansas City. Previous to that, the beating your Cowboys on the opening night on Thursday night there to start the season. This is a tough battle, battle-worn kind of Eagles squad. They know how to take care of business. It wasn't a huge numbers game last week for Hurts. 101 passing yards.
Ooh.
Okay, no touchdowns, right? So, but the thing is, they didn't even explode with Barkley necessarily. Just played solid, fundamental football. Both sides really doing a good job, and they make the plays that they need to make to win the football game. They just play a little bit better than their opponents. And so look at this. They got the game going, the passing game going a little bit with Devontae Smith, one big play really. But between Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, just 9 receptions, less than 100 yards. So a very pedestrian performance offensively for them. But nonetheless, they are able to pull out a victory. They're a tough team to beat. And that, like you said, that tush push, it's very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, and dude, I think the most impressive things about the Eagles is like they have a talented roster, but they haven't had to play their best football, but they don't make that mistake to beat them.
Yeah.
They keep it close, and when the money is on the table, they do what it takes to get it, man. So it is impressive to watch, but I hope those jerks go down on Sunday, Dave. Okay. No, I'm not a bitter Cowboy fan. Why did you say that? Oh, is that just my inner monologue coming out? All right, Dave, I'm moving on. We got the Jets at the Bucs, and the Buccaneers are 6.5-point favorites in this one.
Yeah, and let's talk about these Jets team. Obviously, going into this one. Yeah, I know. Right. I'll be brief. With the concussed Justin Fields, there was a lot of excitement and hope around what they were building around him for this season. They came up. They got spanked. Basically, it was 20-0 last week before you could sneeze, and then it went up 30-10. So, and obviously there'll be with Tyrod Taylor back in the backup quarterback there, who's a decent player. But I don't think he gives you a lot of excitement going into the next week's game. They've got a good running game. They gotta find a way to get Breece Hall and Braylon Allen's really going in this game if they want to be in this football game. The Buccaneers know how to play some really strong defense against the run and make the passing lanes very difficult to find for the quarterback. So they got to find a way to get the ground game going here, or they're going to be in for a long Sunday.
Yeah, dude, that might be a little bit tricky because the Texans on Monday night, they ran for 85 yards. Nick Chubb, 12 of 43. You say that sounds okay, but he had a 25-yard carry in there late in that thing. So other than that, this Bucs team bottled up that run game for the Texans. Yeah. And if those Jets can't run, they're going to be in trouble, dude. But I know that Tyrod doesn't really get you going, but my guy Baker Mayfield does. We all know how I feel about this guy. He's putting in, I know it's early, it's 2 weeks in, but he's right up there in the MVP of the league's talk. That's right, Dave, I said it. But you know who I'm falling in love with too? Bucky freaking Irving, dude. I love the way this guy plays football.
Hard runner.
Shifty, fast, punisher. And this team, dude, back-to-back weeks, like I said at the top, made the plays when they had to do it, comeback drives late in the fourth quarter. It's exciting football, and I think they're wearing the creamsicles on Sunday. So if they do that, it is a wrap for those Jets, man. I love what Tampa is doing, and I'm so stoked for my guy Baker to get this thing going.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Emeka Egbuka. He's come onto the scene, an absolutely immediate pro, a pro's pro. The way he's handling business and scoring touchdowns, that guy is impressive, dude.
And they're eventually going to get McMillan and Chris
One of the
Godwin
best
back.
receiving groups when they get healthy.
Wow,
wicked receiving group there. All right, where are we on the games here, Casey?
We got an AFC South battle, Dave. Get me going.
All right, it is the Colts at the Titans. And this one is going to be a good one. And the Colts rather, on the road are favored by 3.5.
Yeah, and the Colts behind Dimebag Danny looking to go 3-0. Dave, last week, 23 of 34, 316, and a touchdown. No interceptions, Dave. That is what I'm talking about against that grimy Broncos defense.
Yeah.
And your guy from Lightning Strikes, Taylor, you mentioned 25 for 165, dude. He was running all over those fools. It's a very balanced attack in the passing game between the rookie tight end Tyler Warren, Pierce, and Michael Pittman, man. They can move that ball around. Very strong defense, too, man. I like what these Colts are selling, and I'm buying in, baby.
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you there. This Titans squad, obviously with the number 1 overall draft pick, Cam Ward at quarterback, this is a growing season for them. And hopefully along the way, Cam Ward, gets a lot of good experience that he can utilize moving forward. But Tony Pollard over there has been running the ball well. He's pretty much the dude carrying the football there, getting a ton of touches. But I don't know that there's enough talent necessarily on this offensive side of the football. Calvin Ridley's a very good receiver. Some other dudes on there can get it done, but it's going to be a tough deal. Again, this Colts team is playing really solid on both sides of the football, so it's going to be a tough situation. Titans sitting at 0-2 after losing to the Rams last week. It's going to be a tough call for them to find their first win at home this weekend.
I feel like I might have jinxed the Colts, Dave. I said I'm buying in. So if that happens,
I was already bought
Andy
in.
Can blame me on that. So we'll see. But, Dave, how about a Super Bowl rematch from back in the day for you there? It is the Las Vegas Raiders against the Washington Commandos. And this line, 3.5, Washington's favorites. Talk about your favorite team.
In the silver and black, the Raiders. Yes, in week 1, the Raiders were the most explosive team with the big plays. I think there was 10 or 12 big plays for the Raiders as they got a lot of offensive fireworks going there. Last week on the second of the Monday night doubleheaders, they faced the Chargers and came up short. Looked like the Chargers defense had all of the answers. Basically, no big plays at all for the Raiders. Everything they did had to be sort of dink and dunk along the way. They were able to contain Genty for the most part. It wasn't a horrible game from Genty. 43 yards, though, isn't taking over the game. No touchdowns for Genty. Geno Smith, after lighting it up in week 1, held 180 yards and 3 interceptions. Got a nice image of him late in that game on the bench with that just look on his face of like, what went wrong tonight? But Brock Bowers wasn't 100%, and he's not going to be 100%, I don't think, going into this game either. I don't know that the Raiders defensively in that secondary are going to have enough, but we'll see, because the Commanders, obviously, we're not exactly sure what they're going to bring to the table.
Yeah, might not have Jayden Daniels. Luckily, they do have that mini bye playing last Thursday, so they've had some time off. But Jayden Daniels was struggling against those Packers, but I think that's going to be most quarterbacks this year too. They really kind of bottled him up, didn't let him do much running, and when he did, he kind of got blasted. So just 7 rushes for 17 yards last week and a couple punishing hits. And to add more insult or more injury to insult, they lose Austin Eckler for the year, and you knew it right away when you saw it. It's such a bummer because dude was coming back from some brutal injuries and kind of just getting his stride again. So that does, if you're a fantasy owner and you got Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, you're kind of pretty stoked about that. But these cats shipped off Brian Robinson a little early. I'm wondering if they're like, oh, we need to look around for some added depth there. But
Yeah.
the offense hasn't been great. Only 21 points the first week against the Giants, and really couldn't get anything going in the Green Bay game. It was 14-3 at halftime, and they kind of got that late touchdown. So it's very dependent on what happens. If Jayden Daniels play, these guys should handle the Raiders. If Mariota plays, they can probably handle the Raiders.
Yeah.
But they got to get that dude healthy and quit losing players, because the injuries are already mounting up on a short season for the Commandos with a ton of expectation.
No question about it. All right, moving it into the late slot of games, Casey. We'll get things going here. This is a good one for the AFC West. First place is on the line in this one as the Denver Broncos head to Los Angeles to play our Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers at home in this game are favored by 2.5 in their first home game, even though it's technically their second home game on the season. First, their actual home opener at SoFi.
I don't remember. Did I bitch after week 1 about the stupid end zone painted for the Chiefs in Brazil for our home game?
Apparently, that decision has been made that all of the international games will now be that way. We were just the first team to get the wrong end of the deal.
That's a bunch of crap. They took one of we're season ticket holders for the Chargers. They took one of our games away. I want my Chargers logo on both end zone. That's a bunch of crap. You can't call it a home game if both teams have an end zone. Whatever. I'm digressing, Dave. Let me talk about these stupid donkeys. Oh, dude, they were so close to being 2-0, but they could not leverage a win.
Oh, I thought they only called that call on the Chargers, and I'm not even kidding about that.
I know. It's been a while since we saw it, but it was clear and obvious. But it is selective when they decide to call some of these plays. And that's the biggest problem that I have with officiating in general. It's not the same week to week. It's not the same crew to crew. There was like 40 penalties in the Cowboys game. We'll get to that in a minute. But these Broncos are playing pretty good football. Although Jonathan Taylor ran all over those fools last week, which you kind of don't expect out of how well this Broncos team has been on defense. Bo Nix was very good, 22 of 30, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. J.K. Dobbins over almost 5.5 yards a carry. He had a touchdown too. And the receiving core spreading the ball around. What did he have? 10 different receivers get action in this. So sharing the ball, coming to his own, should have had that victory, but they didn't get it. But this is an important game for both the Chargers and the Broncos. And the last 2 games so far that we've been to have come down to a last-second field goal. So you got a pretty good chance of squirming through the whole thing and getting decided in the last minute. But you guys have Dicker, the kicker, and that's much more fun to say than whoever the hell, Rich Carlos or whoever the hell it is in Denver.
And Dicker, the kicker, is actually the most accurate kicker in NFL history at this point in his career at 94.1%. He's got 95 out of 101 to start his career. But let's talk the Chargers in a bigger picture. Justin Herbert, you mentioned somebody for MVP. I heard earlier today that Herbert is actually has got the best odds, or the most likely odds,
and the dirtiest hair. And the dirtiest hair.
He's got some dirty hair.
That dude needs to take a shower.
All right. Well, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions for Herbert. Another phenomenal performance for Justin Herbert there. Unfortunately, he's the leading rusher for the second week in a row, so that's not good. But Herbert with 9 rushes, so not only the leading yardage, but the leading actual attempts guy. Najee Harris, 8 for 28. Amari Hampton has yet to get it going, 8 for 24 for Hampton. The good news is the combination of Quentin Johnston, Keenan Allen, and Ladd McConkey is really a difficult task for defenses to deal with. Keenan and Allen and Ladd McConkey can get open at any point in time, and Quentin Johnston is off to a great start. Only a couple of receivers in the NFL have 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks, and Quentin is one of them. So, he's had the drops issues in the past. He had a couple of drops this season. I think it's hyper-focused on, but He's playing some exceptional football right now. The main thing that this team is doing is really doing a great job on defense. We haven't given up a first half touchdown yet this season. 10 games last year, we didn't give up a first down touchdown. So the way that Jesse Minter is coaching up this defense, we had 10 passes defensed last week, which is an exceptional number of passes blocked. The secondary's playing great. We're not giving up runs.
Who's the
Nobody's
linebacker
running.
number 0? That I
Yeah,
can't think of his
Deion
name.
Henley.
Oh my God, dude. That
yeah.
cat's a sick freak.
Phenomenal game in week 1. Got a good, huge sack on Mahomes last week. An enormous sack on Geno Smith. He's all over the place, dude. He was sick that day too. He was running a fever. He's got to be in. He was snubbed from the Pro Bowl last year. He's got to be started to be recognized as one of the top linebackers in the league. Anyways, this is going to be a nail biter. You mentioned it. There's no way this game isn't going to be close down late in the fourth quarter there. And hopefully, like you said, the team with the better kicker and the better name of kicker, Dicker the kicker, comes away with a win.
Yeah, and a little good news on top of the bad news. Khalil Mack is going to miss some time, but he's supposed to be back late in the season. So that is
he's
a win
on
for the
IR,
Chargers.
so it's a minimum of a four game absence, and we'll see how. The good news is I'll take that. It's not a season ender. So
also, is there any way for you to talk about Derwin James and not go on a 20-minute rant? Give me 20 seconds.
I mean, if you want to watch how a safety's supposed to be played, the position of safety, you watch Derwin James. That play late in the game where he caused the interception by he was in the middle of the field, sprints back to the back. That was at the end of like a 10+ minute drive, and he gets his hand in there, forces the interception. It bounces to our other dude. He's phenomenal.
Love it. All right, up next we have the Saints at the Seahawks. And Dave, let me take you back to yesteryear, a 7-9 Seahawks team hosting a playoff game, and everybody bitched about it because the high-powered Saints offense had to go in front of the 12s and play. And that gave us the Beast Quake, my favorite run of all time in the NFL.
Yes.
Unbelievable. We'll talk about the Saints.
Hard to follow up that Beast Quake, but how about this Saints squad? Unfortunately, at this point, the Saints are off to a rough start to the season, sitting there at 0-2. But they were not. They weren't blown out last week. It was a tight game against San Francisco, who we believe, an undefeated San Francisco squad, who we think is a good team. But this Kellen Moore led. Saints team has got some growing to do, let's say, with Spencer Rattler at the quarterback position. He had a good game. We're talking 3 touchdowns, over 200 yards, no picks. So a very solid performance. You've got talent here on the squad. Alvin Kamara is always a weapon, both through the air and on the ground, over 100 yards for Kamara as well. Rashid Shaheed, Juwan Johnson, the tight end that I picked up on a free agent streamer, got a touchdown, and I think I'm sticking with him. Chris Olave. This is a team that has some talent. They got that Devon Vele they traded for, from the Broncos. Brandon Cook's still in the squad. So a lot of weapons there. Maybe they find their rhythm along the way. Is this the week? I don't know. Going all the way across the country there to the Pacific Northwest to play, like you said, the 12s and the Seattle Seahawks.
And overall, dude, these Seahawks are playing pretty good football. Had the Niners dead to rights. They were inside the 10 when Sam Darnold had the costly fumble in week 1 that kind of gave that game away. And then last week against the Steelers, 2 interceptions. Got to clean that shit up, Darnold. This team is good enough. If you don't have penalties and you don't turn the ball over, you're going to be in all the games. They really got the run game going last week. We thought it was going to be Charbonnet, but it was Kenneth Walker, dude. Yeah. Over 8 yards of carry, dude. 13 for 105 and a touchdown. And Kupp and Darnold are starting to get that connection that we knew would just be a matter of time. Kupp had 7 for 90 last week, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, baby. We saw this one coming to 8 for 103. So if Darnold can eliminate the stupid turnovers, the fumbles, the interceptions, the Seahawks will be a player. and have a potential playoff berth, but got to get that cleaned up.
All right. Up next, it is your Dallas Cowboys, Casey, coming off an amazing game at the Chicago Bears to play this Bear squad on the road. And the Bears at home are favored by 1 in this one. Interesting. Who are the odds makers in charge of this one?
Dude, this is a dangerous game, man, and especially with what we saw Russ do to the secondary last week. But some of that I think they can get cleaned up, and also help is eventually on the way here. I don't think Deron Bland plays this week, and but he's coming back soon, and Ravel is going to make it in the next few weeks too. The rookie who we drafted, who fell into the 3rd round because of the injury, he's getting close. And up front, we've talked about adding Jadeveon Clowney to the mix too. Yeah. So they've been stopping the run, which has been a huge problem, but now they're struggling to stop the pass. And I don't know why Maris Leofau hasn't gotten more playing time this year. The guy is so athletic. So maybe he can work his way in there until we see Agent Zero get back, and they're talking mid-November for him. But how about Dak Prescott, dude, in this offense? Started slow, but you know what? That Giants team has a great front, man. They are no joke, and the Cowboys really struggled, but Dak played a phenomenal game, especially in the 4th quarter and overtime. 52 attempts is a little too much, but overall a great day out of Dak, and he got the big run when he needed it. And speaking of big runs, Javonte Williams, former Bronco, 18 carries, 97 yards, 5.4 a carry, Dave, and had that huge touchdown. That was the longest touchdown the Cowboys have had since, I think, like in 3 or 4 years. So hopefully you can keep building on that run game. BB, the center, is going to be gone, though. So Brock the Rock Hoffman will get in there. So there is some familiarity, but hopefully not too many growing pains. And George Pickens, baby, welcome to the Cowboys. Had a couple huge plays in that game, and I think we're just getting to the start of what we're going to see in there. But they got to figure out a way to stop the deep ball, and that's a problem, dude, because Romo Dunze is coming into form.
Yeah, let's talk about these Bears real quick. And, the excitement of the season after 2 losses is a little diminished, but getting a win here would swing that around pretty quick and pretty massively. They started that season, I think Caleb Williams, 10 for 10. And then it seemed like the second half.
And then what happened?
They let it get away from them and lost that first game. Last week, they got absolutely pounded by an angry Detroit Lions squad there. They just got pulverized there. But Caleb Williams didn't play horribly. They got to get the ground game going. They got to be balanced. Roma Dunze, you just mentioned, 128 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. So, they got to be looking at that Cowboys secondary and thinking, all right, we first pass, then we can establish the ground game after that. But they got to get DJ Moore going. They got to get Cole Kmet and Zacharias involved. They got to make themselves multifaceted in the pass game. And Caleb has got to distribute quickly and get the ball out of his hands and not play those games where he's running around and trying to make magic happen. This Bears team's got a chance to turn it around and make a decent season out of this. It would start with a big win here at home against the Cowboys.
Yeah, dude, everybody gets up to play the Cowboys.
Yep.
And they got such a beatdown last week. They're going to be uber focused this week. I always hate trying to come up after that. So this is going to be a tough game. And at least it's not going to be that cold. So that's a good thing. All right, Dave, let's head out west, baby. Got a great NFC West battle. The Arizona Cardinals 2-0 at the 2-0 San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are 1.5 favorites in this game. And one of these teams will be 3-0 at the end of Sunday.
Wow. And divisional, obviously, so important. And Kyler Murray, when he's playing like Kyler Murray, doing his thing, man, he is fun to watch here. Last week getting the W against the Panthers. And James Conner got it going a little bit, but they still need more balance in this game. 34 yards for Connors and a touchdown. And then Trey Benson, who had a nice game in week 1, just 14 yards. Kyler Murray with 32 yards there. So they were unable to really rush the football. Trey McBride is a monster weapon at the tight end position, and Marvin Harrison, of course, but only 2 receptions last week for Marvin Harrison. So the numbers here that they put up last week, not too impressive. They're going to have they're going to have to probably do more this week to beat this 49ers squad than they were able to put together against that Panthers group last week if they want to get this W.
Yeah, and the Niners were just kind of cruising last week and, let it slip at the end, and that game got a lot closer than it felt the entire time. But Mac Jones, pretty good in there for Brock Purdy, 26 of 39, 279, 3 TDs. So I'm guessing if Purdy isn't feeling great, let's go ahead and hold off because you get to see Mac Jones in a hostile environment in a big game early on. So you kind of know what you got there. But the way he played last week, let's see if that can transfer against the Cardinals in this divisional game, though. But Christian McCaffrey, just kind of if you look at his rushing, it's okay. Look at his receiving, okay. You put him together, it's over 100 yards and a touchdown. Jawan Jennings had a real nice game last week, and Ricky Pearsall, man, they are freaking stoked about this cat. So if they can kind of get through this wave of injuries they had and get healthy, they're already at 2-0. If they get this game sitting at 3-0, man, that's a very manageable schedule down the stretch. So if they're crying right now with injuries and still winning, we could see the Niners back in the playoffs. This is a huge game, dude. Huge divisional game early on.
No question. And this division was hard fought all the way till the end last year as well. All right, Casey, we'll move it along to Sunday Night Football. And it's let's call it a good one. The way that the Giants played last week and the desperation of the chefs right now. It's the Kansas City Chiefs at the New York Giants. And the Chiefs are on the road here. They are favored by 6 in this one. It's a big, big game because the Chiefs have got to get in the W column.
Yeah, dude, both of these teams looking for their first win. We thought that would be the case for the Giants, but we did not think that was going to be the situation for the Chiefs. And they look eerily similar to last year, not playing that good, but right in the game and find a way to win it at the end. Well, this year, the Chiefs are finding a way to lose those games at the end. They do have reinforcements coming down the road, but it's going to be a while before it gets there. So the offense has really just not had a good flow to it. And then, your main man, Travis Kelce, pops that ball up and it's an interception instead of a touchdown. So they don't really have a go-to besides him. And they thought they were going to have that with Rice, and they thought they were going to have that with Worthy. Hollywood Brown wants to be that guy, but so far it's not. Tyquan Thornton showed some flashes last week. That might be a guy if you have a roster spot on your fantasy squad, you want to go ahead and, stock him away. He had the big touchdown that kind of got them back in that game. But 0-2 for the Chiefs, dude. I don't, until they're officially pushed off the cliff, they're still up there. They might be looking over or hanging on with a couple fingers, but, not the start that they thought. And, oh, my God, dude, if they lose to these Giants on Sunday night,
woo-wee.
I don't think it's going to happen, but
this is game 3 of the brutal schedule for the Gigantes to start this season. I'll just quickly digress on this one. After obviously the Commanders and the Cowboys to get things going with both losses, it's the Chiefs here. Then it's the Chargers. Then they get a little reprieve with the Saints, but then it's the Eagles, Broncos, Eagles, Niners, Bears, Packers, Lions.
Oh my.
Yeah, try that on for size, folks. And the good news is Russell Wilson has said, hold back now with all the Jackson Dart talk. Okay, I can still sling the ball. 450 yards and 3 touchdowns. Unbelievable for Russell Wilson last week. Neighbors, 167 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wan'Dale Robinson, 142 yards and a touchdown as well. Looks like Cam Scadaboo, the rookie, who is fun to watch play football, both receiving the ball out of the backfield, but also just his sledgehammer running style. He seems to have taken over the primary running back with his 11 carries and 45 yards last week and a touchdown. Tyrone Taylor, who we thought would be the primary back there, has only got 5 carries last week and 4 receptions. And then Devin Singletary is the other guy. He only touched it twice. So we'll see if Cam Scadaboo can be continue to be as exciting and fun to watch as he's been. This Giants team is going to have their hands full. Obviously, you never want to face the Chiefs squad. They're so good. But coming off, like you said, their 3rd straight loss and 2 in this season, it's a tough order for this Giants squad, even at home.
Yeah, dude. I was impressed by that Giants front last week, though, man. They were giving us fits for a while. So if they can pressure Mahomes and he can't find those receivers, man, they get home quick. So that's going to be
and
pretty
the
damn
Chiefs
interesting.
have not really run the ball well this year.
No, not at all. But is Mahomes their leading rusher? Ugh.
Yeah, right.
Not good. All right, Dave, we got Monday Night Football. It is the Detroit Rock City Lions at the Baltimore Ravens. And the Ravens, 5.5-point favorites in this game.
Yeah, that's interesting, but they are at home. But it does seem like a big number there, especially after Detroit came out of the gates, obviously stumbled against the Pack in week 1. And boy, did they get it right last week, putting up enormous numbers, 23 of 28 for Goff. So it's a typical Goff type of when he shines, you know. The percentage is very high into completions, 335 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. So a 156 passer rating. They can run it with Gibbs and Montgomery combining for more than 150 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams, each over 100 yards and a combined 4 touchdowns for those dudes. And the rookie Tesla with a big, kind of an extra like wild card contribution there as well. And let's not forget Sam Laporta is also difficult to deal with. So
I thought you were going to say modern day cowboy and little Susie and Edison's medicine, but go ahead.
But you digress. Honestly, this is going to be a very, very explosive Lions team. We'll see if the Ravens defensively are up to the task. And on the other side, is the Lions defense going to be able to handle Lamar and what he brings, as well as King Henry?
Oh, dude. Well, last week, if that's a barometer of what's coming their way, Lamar was 19 of 29, 225, and 4 touchdowns. They didn't really get their run going against the Browns, so maybe that's something. Derrick Henry, 11 carries, 23 yards. Lamar Jackson, 2 carries, 13 yards. But I thought they had, and it's easy to go back and bitch about a 41-17 game, but I thought early on that they tried to get too cute in the red zone. They had a couple goal-to-goals. Give it to the king. Why are we doing any play action crap down there or anything besides just handing off to Henry?
Yep.
But despite all that, they absolutely rolled the Browns. Lamar's looking sweet. This team could easily be 2-0. They let the game get away from the Bills. So I think with these Ravens, you have to keep them motivated during the season because it is all about the postseason for these guys.
Especially the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and now with Joe Burrow going down, the Browns not in a great spot, and Aaron Rodgers, can he who knows what's up with the Bears? This looks like it's going to be the Ravens division again. So can they keep that focus, like you said, not for a full season, for 4 full quarters? Last time these Lions came to town, the Ravens curb stomped them like 38-6 or whatever it was. So this is a big game between teams that have been kind of the top of each conference, also possible Super Bowl preview. So I hope it lives up to what it looks like going in.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. One of these teams is going to drop below 500, and they're both really, really exciting football teams. So that we expect to be in the playoff mix, obviously.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be a good week 3 of football, folks. And guess what? There are so many ways you can check out the Football Dudes Trendzone. Now available on subscription, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, go ahead and subscribe to the Football Dudes YouTube channel. Like us on Instagram and Facebook, and follow us on X at Football Dudes LA. And make sure you tag us across all those social media platforms.
Or just go to footballdudes.com. It's all there for you. That is going to do it for this episode of the Trend Zone. We're not the suits that talk football. We're the dudes that know football. For Casey, I'm Dave, and we are out of here.